Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I'm starting a new series on growing flowers, vegetables, herbs in flower boxes and containers. So I'm going to show you in today's video how to build this flower box. It's 5 feet long. It only costs $6 to make, which is important because it's inexpensive. If you're going to buy flower boxes, they easily cost $8 to $12, $15 for plastic, even more if you're going to buy ceramic or something like that. Buy whatever you like, but I'm going to show you how to create this design. Also going to show you how to make a container mix or a flower box mix in the cheapest way possible. It's taking 50% peat moss, 50% earth, and that's your basic mix. I'll show you how to put in fertilizers. We're going to go over granular, insoluble organic fertilizers, and we're going to go over water-soluble fertilizer. And of course, if you want to, you can fill your flower boxes with your basic potting mix out of a bag. That's up to you. But we're going to do the whole setup, and then we're going to get to planting some lettuces and some greens, and then the next video will be about herbs. Let me get this set up. So we're going to make our flower box mix, our container mix, out of peat moss or cocoa coir, combination of both, whatever you want to use. They both provide no nutritional value to your plants. They retain water. They make a nice loose soil. So it's going to be, and well, first of all, these are 3 cubic foot containers of peat moss. They cost $12 to $14. That's going to make a ton of container mix. This is the cheapest way to do it. If you were going to buy the potting mix, which is right over here, that bag, that blue bag, is anywhere from $8 to $10 depending on the size and the brand. The peat moss and your earth from your yard will easily make 10, 15 bags like that. So you're going to save a lot of money. If you bought 15 bags of potting mix, that's easily $80 to $120. 14 bucks for a bag of peat moss. So it's 50%. So I use 5-gallon buckets. That's the easiest way to mix it. 50% earth, that's 5 gallons. 50% peat moss, that's 5 gallons. And peat moss is really dry and dusty, so you want to add some water to that before you add in the earth. I'll show you how to do it. So a 50-50 mix. You can add other things, you know, sort of be a mad scientist, whatever you want, but this basic mix works. We're going to use 2 kinds of fertilizers. We're going to use the one on the left. That's an insoluble organic fertilizer, and that's a 3,4,4 NP and K. So you want any organic fertilizer that represents the NP and K. They're all basically the same. A bag of blood meal just has nitrogen. A bag of bone meal just has phosphorus. Don't get those. You want something that has the NP and K represented around a 5,5,5 NP and K. A couple higher, a couple lower, it doesn't matter. Any granular fertilizer, they're all basically the same ingredients. And then you're going to want a soluble organic fertilizer. Soluble means that you basically mix it in water, feed your plants, and the plants can use and absorb the NP and K immediately. When you're using the granular type, soil biology, microbes have to break it down, digest it, and turn it into a form of NP and K your plants can use. Because we're growing in flower boxes, there's no earthworms, there's not a lot of biological life, so that type of fertilizer is a very slow feed. So you're going to need both. If you can only pick one, just grab the water-soluble fertilizer. That will work too. So when you're making the mix, you're going to put in a handful of the granular insoluble, 1 handful for each 5-gallon container. So it'd be 1 handful for the earth, 1 handful for the peat moss, doesn't have to be exact, and you're just going to mix those 2 products into a wheelbarrow. That's the easiest way to do it, and I like to do 10 gallons at a time. It's easy to mix. So we would just throw both of those products in there, both of those materials in there, and then 2 handfuls of fertilizer. Let me show you how I make this up, and then we'll get to planting and building the flower box. So the whole goal of this series is, of course, to teach you how to grow vegetables, herbs, flowers in containers and flower boxes, but also how to do it where it's not really expensive. So I recommend having a wheelbarrow, or it's the easiest place to mix. This is 5 gallons of peat moss. Notice how dry it is. You want to pre-moisten it. That's about 1 gallon of water. And peat moss doesn't take water easily. So you have to get in there and just move it around, get it saturated a little bit. Once it's saturated, it'll be good to go. Just to the point where dust isn't kicking around everywhere. That's pretty good. Then you're going to put in 5 gallons of any earth. And again, if you wanted to, you could buy the potting mix. If you're going to buy bagged products, it should say potting mix, nothing else. You want a special blend of container mixes that have a lot of peat moss in there, because the whole key is to hold moisture. There's not a lot of soil life in here, not a lot of nature going on. It's not like growing in the earth. We're going to be feeding this mostly with the water-soluble fertilizer. Get it mixed up a little bit, and then we'll add in the fertilizer, just a handful per about 5 gallons worth of materials that you put in here. So we're going to need 2 handfuls. So again, any granular type organic fertilizer, 1 handful, 2 handfuls. This is a slow release, and we'll just mix everything in. Now, if you have really heavy earth in here and you feel like when you make a fist and you close it up like this, if it doesn't break apart, add in some more peat moss. You want the peat moss to retain water. Peat moss, cocoa coir, doesn't add any nutritional value. It's just about good drainage and holding moisture, and that's the whole key. So this sets up your basic container mix. I don't recommend putting in manures or composts or anything in there like that. Organic insoluble, organic water soluble, consistency something like this. So you can use any flower boxes that you want. You want a depth of at least 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches, that works perfectly well. And because we made the mix with a lot of peat or coir in there, it's really going to hold water, so it's going to help. Whatever you buy, make sure there's drainage holes in it. You always want your containers to drain. If they hold water, they're going to kill your plants. And again, when you buy these plastic type, for the size, I mean, one's 3 feet, maybe, they're going to be $8 to $15. It's a lot of money. They're kind of expensive. So I've tried to figure out, well, what's the best way that I could build this? This is wood that's used for building fences. One piece of wood is only $1.70. So we can make a 6-inch deep, 5-foot long flower box, and I think it looks nice, for about $6. That's really, really inexpensive. Now, this is pressure treated. I am going to put a link to an article from the Penn State Extension that talks about pressure treated wood and whether or not it's going to harm you. I don't believe that it does. If you believe that article, or if you don't believe it, or you're concerned in any way, just line your flower box with wax paper or aluminum foil or saran wrap or turkey bags. Anything that you feel comfortable with, line it, and then you don't have to worry about leaching. So the build's pretty easy. You need 3 pieces of wood. They're going to be $1.70 each. You're going to need 1.5-inch screws, and you're going to cut off from the right end 7 inches of material. That's going to give you 3 7-inch boards, and then from the other end you're going to cut off 5 inches of material. That's going to give you 3 pieces of 5-inch. Assembly is really easy. So when you do the 7-inch sides, put in pilot holes. You want to drill holes because pressure treated wood is soft wood and it can split. So you drill holes right in there. Those are where you're going to put the screws, and they go right in just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That will be your side. To set up the box, after you cut off the ends, you're going to have about a 5-foot, 3 5-feet pieces of wood. Let me show you what that looks like. It's real easy to do. So there are holes that I drilled in the bottom of here. We'll talk about this piece in a second. But underneath there, 1 hole, 2 holes, and then about every 10 to 12 inches, you put in another screw, drill a hole, and you basically go every 10 to 12 inches, and you fasten the bottom of the flower box to the sideboards. These are the 5-inch pieces right here. After you put the bottom on and the sides on, you can go ahead and just drop these right on the tips. One on that side. You're going to put one of the other 7-inch pieces right in the middle, and then the other 5-inch piece right there. Now this is what it looks like when it's completed. So notice the bottom board is right here, and you're setting the sideboards right on top of it, and the screws coming up right through there. The 7-inch sides go on just like this, flush with the bottom, and I like this little overhang. You could cut it differently if you want. But when you're all finished, you have a 6-inch deep flower box that I think looks pretty good. You can stain this, you can stain it, you can paint it, but it only costs $6 to build. So let's get to filling it. So I'm going to fill this pretty much to the top with the potting mix we just made. As you're filling it, just press it in, nice firm base, and that's how you set up the box. So I have to say, I think this is one of my favorite projects, actually. We're going to plant my transplants in here. I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll put some seeds in the other flower boxes. So we're going to do the leafy greens. We have arugula, a red romaine, or red salad bowl, spinach, and a green loose leaf lettuce. We're going to put these in about 4 inches apart. Future videos, we're going to put in herbs, we're going to put in strawberries, we're going to do basil by seed, so subscribe. And I'll really show you how to grow a whole garden in flower boxes and containers. We're going to do tomatoes and peppers. We're going to do a lot. So in here, we're going to grow these not quite to full size. The more spacing you give them, the bigger they'll get. Depends on what you want to do. We're going to grow these pretty large. So we're going to give them 4 to 6 inches of space. There's only one plant in there. I don't want that. I want to put in a transplant that has 2 or 3 plants. So arugula. Some of the red salad bowl, about 4 inches, and I'll just rotate that all the way down. Some spinach, and then this one might be going off camera, but the green loose leaf. You want to do loose leaf lettuces in there. Lettuce is perfect for the 6-inch depth. If you want to grow kale or collards, they're going to have to be in bigger containers. So when you fill this up, just press it in. You want it to be nice and firm. And all you're doing is digging a hole, and you're planting right to the level that your transplant is at. You're not going above it or anything like that. Dig the hole, drop it in, hold up the leaves, fill around it, and then just press it in. We'll also do some by seeds, and we're going to do that as a cut and come again. So these will get at least 6 inches tall. We'll cut the leaves, leave the roots, and they'll come back. But the other flower boxes we're going to overseed, and we're going to cut that lettuce at 2 or 3 inches tall. That's the spinach, and hopefully you can see this one. And that goes in there. At the end of planting, we'll go over the water-soluble fertilizers and how often you do it. But I'm going to repeat this pattern all the way down. Let me set up the other boxes. So I actually changed my mind. I want to plant radishes. I've been planting lots of greens, but I'm going to show you how you do the cut and come again. So if you're doing your lettuces, you can mix spinach seeds, arugula, lettuce seeds together. You would just make a trench, little row, about a ½ inch deep, and then you get a pinch of your mixed seeds and you just sprinkle them along here. They can almost touch each other all the way across. Just cover it up, press it in, and that's how you'll have your cut and come again lettuce. You're just putting the strip down the middle, plenty of room for the roots. When they get about 3 or 4 inches tall, you're just going to cut the leaves off all the way across, leave the roots in there, and they'll resprout, and they'll continue to do this. Your cool weather crops, your leafy greens, like 45, 50 degree nights, 60 to 70 degree days. These will keep coming back until it starts getting up into the 80s regularly, and then your plants bolt. They send up flowers they want to seed. If you wanted to grow bigger heads of lettuce, you would do a hole just like that, every 4 to 6 inches depending on what you're growing. 2 lettuce seeds, 2 spinach seeds, 2 arugula seeds, drop them in, you let them go. That's like what we did on the other side. So for radishes, you're going to do a hole about every 2 inches. And I decided I want something to go with my greens when I make a salad. 2 or 3 inches. If you're doing like French breakfast radishes, you can put them closer together. These are bigger, so space them out a little bit more. Like for French breakfast, you could do every inch. And you're just going to take 2 radish seeds, put them in each hole. When they get the first sets of true leaves, you're going to thin them down. 3 fall in, that's fine. When you get their first sets of true leaves, you're going to thin them down to 1 plant. And you can grow radishes this way. We could probably push it and do that. Let's do that, see what happens. All you need is 2 seeds. Any more, you're kind of just wasting seeds. You got to thin them to 1 per. And that's all you do to plant radishes. We'll water this in. And I know I'm going to get the question. In some videos I say you can add in compost or manures to this. You can, if you know it's 100% broken down, fully composted, and really good stuff. The bag stuff is never fully broken down. It's in some, transition stage between composting and breaking down and fully being composted. What does that mean? If you put in materials that aren't 100% composted down into your boxes like this, they're going to keep breaking down and they're going to take nitrogen from your plants. So you're better off just omitting the manures or omitting the composts unless you know they're 100% fully broken down. And if they are, in that 10 gallons worth that we threw in the wheelbarrow, throw in 2 shovelfuls of the manure or the compost, mix it in, and you're good to go. All right, let's get to watering these in with the water-soluble fertilizer, and I'll talk about how often you fertilize. So the whole trick is your water-soluble fertilizers. That will take care of your containers, your flower boxes for the most part. So first thing, radishes. Do not feed them any water-soluble fertilizer. A good trick for growing nice big radish bulbs, the part that we want to eat and not leafy greens, is don't feed them. There's enough in there with what we put in with the insoluble granular type and in the earth. If you give them too much nitrogen, you're going to get just a lot of leafy greens. So you're going to water your flower boxes and containers about every 7 to 14 days. 14 days or a little bit longer when they're small. Every 7 days when they're bigger, or if they're more kind of voracious eating plants that love fertilizer, like cucumbers, which we'll be doing, squash, zucchini, we'll be doing videos on that, tomato plants. So the bigger the plants, the more often you have to fertilize. So we're going to just start with every 14 days with leafy greens, and we're using the fish emulsion, and that's a 5-1-1 NP and K, and it's basically 1 tablespoon per gallon of water. Let's see if I can do this one hand without making a mess. This is all you do. Just soak it in something like that. All the way down the line. Come back, and you don't have to overdo it. You want to kind of get the tempo down so that nothing's draining out the bottom. Now, we didn't put any holes in the wood containers. Water will naturally leak out through the cracks. If you do go with putting down wax paper or aluminum foil or anything like that, poke some holes in it because you want this to drain well. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, and for the series on growing full garden in flowers and containers, I'll take you through just about every plant that you can grow in the earth, but we'll do it in containers and flower boxes. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com. Thanks for watching.